Welcome to the Healing Journey Part 3. If you're just starting this series, I'd recommend you go back to Part 1 and watch it in order because we've covered a lot here. So you're going to want to be caught up. Otherwise, the stuff I'm going to say in this video won't make any sense, right? So make sure you've got the backstory here. Now, as we enter the third gate, we're coming right off the lonely path, right? And the lonely path was beliefs about, I need more information. And of course, everything else is stacked up behind it, right? I know I have a problem. I know this isn't normal. These simple solutions aren't working. People are trying to gaslight me, tell me it's all in my head. It's not all in my head. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to find a way, right? We get there. We get to the complicated solutions. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, these specialists are failing me. I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to ask on forums. I'm going to do some Googling. Holy smokes. I need more information. I need more information. I need more information. I'm overwhelmed. And now we find ourselves at the third gate. And again, just like the other gates, there's a password, please. What's the password here? Well, the password requires belief evolution. We need to move from noticing, right? Going through the lonely path and doing your research is where you start to realize that what you have is a complex problem. It's important to realize that this is complex. I need more information. I need a complex solution, right? Complex problems require complex solutions, right? That's a belief. We need to evolve that. This is complex. I don't need more information. I need better information. What do we mean by better, right? We mean focused. We mean specific, bespoke for your situation. Because out of those 10.5 million Google results, you need to know the one thing to be doing today to start to get your health back, to start to get up that mountain. And now once we can see this, once we can understand that we don't need more information, that more isn't always better, that appropriate is what we're looking for, right? Specific and precise and logical and structured. Comprehensive. That's when we can start to open up this third gate and we enter a whole new reality. And the beliefs evolve. I need the right information organized in a straightforward way. Instead of surrendering to complexity, we must learn how to navigate it, how to plan for it, how to absorb it, and how to leverage it. And you can do this. And then the next step of this belief is I need a realistic plan that accounts for complexity and absorbs it ahead of time. And I'm using this hypercube. It's also called a tesseract, right? This crazy fourth dimensional cube within a cube to represent complexity. Because it is. There's more going on than in a regular cube, right? There's more going on in a complex situation than in a complicated one. And I'm going to explain this in detail here. So the square represents simple. Let's look at a simple action, tightening a screw, right? A simple system. You just have to tighten a screw and that'll be fixed. Very easy. How does that apply to medicine? Well, something like stitching up a wound. If you've ever had stitches, it's pretty straightforward, right? Very simple. You just tie the thing together and that's it. As we move into complicated systems, there's more going on than just tightening a single screw. So for example, this cube here represents complicated systems, and that's where we'd be like fixing a whole engine, where there's a lot of moving parts, right? But any one of those parts could just be taken out and replaced without affecting the whole rest of the system. How does this apply to medicine? Think of heart surgery, something like that. It's mechanical, just like stitching a wound, but there's a lot more steps. There's a lot more involved. It's complicated. Now, as we move into this third phase, we have to start to understand complexity, right? Simple, complicated, complexity. Baking a cake. Whole different deal than fixing an engine, right? Because what's going on in the cake? Well, you've got different ingredients. You've got eggs, flour, sugar, milk, butter, whatever you're putting in there, chocolate, right? Some cocoa powder, some vanilla, all those things, they're not just separate components, because once you put that cake in the oven, all those things start to change each other and it emerges into something else entirely. You can't just take a cake out of the oven and say, oh, I should have used skim milk instead of whole milk. I'm just going to pull all the skim milk out of this cake and put whole milk in instead. It's already baked. It's a complex system. You can't just monkey around with it like that, right? These things will change each other. They become each other. It's very loose and it moves in counterintuitive ways. How does this apply to medicine? Healing chronic illness, right? Chronic illness is where your body is a system of systems and all those systems interact and affect each other. This is not simple. This is not even complicated. This is complex. And that's why simple solutions don't work. Complicated solutions don't work. You have to be using the right lens of complexity and understanding systems and how they interact. And that brings us to number 9. Whole systems. In reality, complex problems aren't fixed and static. They're dynamic and moving, and there's paradox. There's systems within systems, like your body is a whole living ecosystem, and within that there's a respiratory system, there's a circulatory system, there's an immune system, there's a digestive system. And when we start to intervene with one of those systems within the system, other systems can start to shift and compensate and change, and it can be kind of wild and unexpected. And this is where we get these catch-22 health situations, where you try to do something for your health, you try to use a therapy or get a treatment or whatever it is, and it can cause flares. You can have weird reactions, things that should have worked but didn't work. You feel like you're playing whack-a-mole, right? And it's because the problem has been looked at like it's simple or complicated, but in reality it's complex. These aren't the wrong treatments, they're just incomplete, and oftentimes they don't have respect for timing. They don't know how to pull apart the complexity and respect it. So these complex health conditions, it's this fourth dimensional cube, right? Hypercube, tesseract, whatever you want to call it. It's this crazy shape, but it also doesn't sit still. This is really what's going on. It's starting to move and change and shift. And the more you look at this thing, the more you start to see paradox. And it's like, this is where we feel like we're playing whack-a-mole, because you move one piece and the whole rest of it shifts in some kind of strange way that seems totally unpredictable. But this is the case for whole systems thinking, where we absorb the complexity and we can take a shape like this and we understand it and we can actually pull it apart and we can see how it moves. We can see it from all angles and we can take it and open it up and we can make it into something much more straightforward and easy to understand. See, we haven't lost any of the detail. We've just expanded a complex problem and then broken it down into distinct stages and pieces. In this way, we can start to understand it and we can start to follow a treatment protocol that takes into account complexity and doesn't ignore it, doesn't oversimplify it, and doesn't overcomplicate it. And this is where we get a 4-stage healing process. Because all the systems in your body influence each other, we focus on the body systems where we have the most leverage at any given time. And we start in order. Stage 1 is the immune system, stage 2 is the digestive system, stage 3 is the neuroadrenal, stage 4 is the circulatory system, and there's basically a bonus stage 5 that's more like biohacking and boosting and hormones and mitochondria if needed. Most people don't even need to get anywhere near that, because when you start intervening with your body's systems in the right order, the whole thing starts to course correct. Your body knows how to heal. I'm constantly talking about this. I'm constantly talking about the 4 stages, and there's a reason. So I'm going to show you how we carve this up, this abyss, so that we have structure. And one of the best things to do is to start to understand it's a little bit of a step model here. 3, 4. So I gave you 4 steps. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because we've got now some scaffolding across this abyss. So you can learn how to maneuver this. And one of the ways we're going to look at this is by body system. So our first one we're going to look at is immune, the immune system. I'm just going to abbreviate here. And then we have digestive, and then we have neuroadrenal, and then we have circulatory or tissue repair. Here are the stages of healing. Immune system, stage 1. Stage 2, digestive. Stage 3, neuroadrenal. Stage 4, blood circulation. Stage 1 is immune system. Stage 2 is digestive, right? That's the gut. Stage 3, neuroadrenal. Stage 4, blood circulation. Stage 1, immune. Stage 2, digestive. Stage 3, neuroadrenal. Stage 4, blood circulation. There's kind of a bonus stage 5 of biohacking and supplements and things like that. Not everybody needs that. And then going through a process over the course of months and years, right? Structured stage 1, 2, 3, 4. You know the drill, right? You know how we operate here. She's been through this process and now she's feeling better. If you've been around my work at all, you know I'm always talking about these 4 stages, and it's because it's so powerful to have a plan that's organized around an order of operations that has steps and has graduation signs, because this is the way we have to look at complex problems. We are in phase 3 of the healing journey. It's time to be more accurate and more precise and comprehensive. Once we have the 4 stages in place, this is how we actually cross the abyss. I get a lot of people asking about these stages, so I'm going to explain a little bit in more detail here. Stage 1 is the immune system. Here we go. We've taken this hypercube of complexity. We've pulled it apart. We've got a place to start. It's right there, immune system. In the immune system stage, when we're working specifically, we're trying to get inflammation down. We're trying to enhance your immune specificity. What that means is that your immune system's not just smoldering. It's actually specifically targeting whatever pathogens it needs to, which is how you get the inflammation to go down in the first place. You have to let the cycle complete instead of just kind of stuffing it. We look for herbs and practices and things that have antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial effects, herbs that can kill spirochetes, things that counter mold toxins, herbs that interrupt viral replication, regulate the gut bacteria, practices and herbs both that increase lymphatic flow, herbs that dissolve biofilms. You want to be also regulating your liver enzymes at this stage, because that's going to help with the detoxification pathways so that all this stuff that you're breaking off has a place to go to get out of your body. This is stage 1. This is the immune system. We know this is working when wandering pains are decreased or gone, energy levels improved, sensitivity to weather is decreased, body temperature begins to regulate, flu-like feelings go away. Like people that they say, I feel like I've been getting the flu for the last 6 years, right? That's that general inflammatory response. We need to get that down. Swelling can decrease, improvements in mental clarity. There may still be other symptoms, right? Might be still sleep problems, digestive issues. We haven't gotten to those other stages yet. But you're intervening in a way where you're starting with the immune system and you're putting a stake in the ground. And we're going, okay, we're going to get these immediate fires put out so that we have the immune system harnessed, because the immune system is not just for killing pathogens, it's also for helping to repair your body. And if it's busy trying to fight pathogens, it's not going to be doing tissue repair, right? So we have to take it in stages. We have to get these acute fires put out in the right way, and now we can leverage that. Stage 1 also has spiritual development that goes with it. Oftentimes, as we start to get the immune system more regulated and healthy, people will notice their interpersonal boundaries start to become a little healthier as well. Quite interesting. Stage 2 is where we start to work on the digestive system. Now that we got those inflammatory fires calmed down, we can start to work on the gut, because the gut and the immune system interface so strongly. We want to cultivate a stronger digestive system and a more diverse gut microbiome, because that's going to set up the foundations for healing in the future. So here we go. We did the immune system. Now we're putting another stake in the ground, digestive. And you can see how we're starting to tackle what was complexity, right? And we're taking it piece by piece without losing any of the nuance. So in stage 2, we want to be dissolving biofilms, regulating gut bacteria, tightening gap junctions. If you've ever heard of leaky gut, that means that there's inflammation and there's leaks, right? There's these wide gap junctions in the gut. Well, you can tighten those up with specific herbs. And also when you do stage 1 first and get the inflammation down, that tends to help that process. So if you've been diagnosed with leaky gut, that was oftentimes an oversimplified diagnosis that's part of a larger picture. It's not the be all end all. We also want to be decreasing food sensitivities, encouraging lymphatic flow, encouraging glymphatic. There should be a G there. Let's put a G there. Here, we'll fix it right now. There. Glymphatic drainage, which means the waste from your brain gets flushed out while you sleep. Very important. If you have brain fog, cognitive issues, short-term memory, focus problems, we need to make sure we're getting that glymphatic drainage happening where the brain's waste is coming out at night. We need to increase internal enzyme production so you can digest your food better and get more energy out of it. We also want to be working with herbs that have antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial properties. And we also want to regulate peristalsis, which means intestinal movement, so that your food's not just sitting and rotting in your gut. How do we know we're making progress in stage 2? Any fixed dull aches decrease or go away, right? In stage 1, we were looking at wandering pains, those pains that move around. Stage 2 is dull aches, right? We haven't looked at electric pains or sharp stabby pains. Those come later. Energy level continually improves, appetite regulated, bloating is gone. Sometimes people didn't even know they were bloated. They just go, oh my goodness, my pants fit differently. I didn't know I've been bloated for the last 20 years. Yeah, good. We're getting that gut microbiome regulated. This is not the be all end all. This is one part of intervening with the complex system that is your body, right? Positive effects are good. Food sensitivities decrease, feeling of brain fog dissipates, mental focus and clarity improve, decreased cravings like the sugar cravings and all that, and the night snacking. We want to see that going down as well. Stage 2 also has spiritual development, where people who are in this stage tend to start to feel more centered in themselves and start trusting their intuition more. There really is something about that gut feeling, right? And this is, again, we're just taking apart the complexity. We could do all this at once, right? Oh, it's all starts in the gut, or it's all about the immune system, or it's all about stress, or it's all, whatever it is. You wind up with this shotgun approach. We need to have things taken apart and go stage by stage so that it's clean. So that we know if you're getting stuck at a certain point, we can troubleshoot that and find your way through the proper stage and not be skipping stages and having all these kinds of side effects. As your digestive health is improving, then we can move into stage 3, the neuroadrenal system, which looks like this. We pick another point, put a stake in the ground, and we're just carving out this like 4-dimensional tesseract hypercube, right? And we're just taking it in manageable chunks. What do we want to do in stage 3? We want to regulate your sleep, your circadian rhythm. We're starting to release muscle tension, those types of pains, right? Tight jaw, tight shoulders, just tension. Increase your fascial flexibility. That's your connective tissue in your body. We want to be metabolizing your stress hormones better. There's herbs, there's special breathwork practices. There are a lot of different ways to do this. Promote healthy nerve function, balance cortisol release, regulate liver enzymes. Again, it's very important. And then continue to build on your foundation, supporting your healthy digestion. Promoting parasympathetic nervous system function, which means that your nervous system knows how to go into a calm state, right? Back and forth, so that it's not interfering with the digestive system. Because if you're always in stress mode, then you can't digest your food. So we're going to keep working, right? You worked on your digestive system, and now it's time to start calming down your nervous system so your digestive changes can really cement themselves and you can become a lot stronger in that way. We're also going to be reducing oxidative stress, which is a byproduct of inflammation, decreasing menopausal hot flashes, regulating gut bacteria, and regulating melatonin, which helps with the very first thing up at the list is regulating sleep and circadian rhythm. This is stage 3, right? Looks like a lot of stuff, but we're breaking it down. We're taking it step by step, bite-sized chunks over time. Then we can achieve great things, right? Without drinking from a fire hose, being overwhelmed, or just oversimplifying everything and not getting any results. How do we know stage 3 is going well? Well, electric and tension pains will be down. Energy levels should be pretty healthy. Balanced stress response and mood. Does that mean that you're just a Zen monk on top of a mountain? No. But when something happens, you can get back to your center more easily. You're more resilient, right? Mental clarity, mental focus should be coming back. Libido oftentimes starts to come back around this stage. Emotional releases like spontaneous crying. It may be a little bit disruptive, for your life, but it's good. You got to process this stuff. You got to get it out. There's a lot of old trauma, abuse, just stressors built into the body, right? The body remembers all this stuff. And in stage 3, a lot of it starts to come out. The sleep cycle can be regulated if you choose, right? You may start going to bed earlier, waking up a little bit earlier. When you do wake up, you feel more rested and ready for the day. And also this kind of deepening sense of inner peace where you're not so agitated, again, because your body's not so inflamed. And also your nervous system has now started to learn how to re-regulate itself so that you're not just always keyed up and ready to just, have anxiety or a panic attack or start snapping at people or whatever it is just at the drop of a hat, right? A wider buffer. You get a wider margin for life. And that tends to create a deepening sense of inner peace. Stage 3, spiritual development. People at this point tend to start to make peace with their past, right? We start to let go of a lot of those things from the past. So in stage 1, you get healthier boundaries. Stage 2, you feel stronger in your center and you start trusting your intuition. Stage 3 is when you start letting go of some of the things in the past that have been holding you back. And then we move to stage 4, the circulatory system. This is really where we do the tissue repair. Getting the blood circulation to start reaching more and more places in the body is how we help fresh nutrients reach those cells. And how we help also because blood circulation has to come in to grab the waste out of the cells. So we're cleaning and we're strengthening. Very important, right? Here we go. We're putting a stake in the ground. Circulatory system, right over here. We've opened up this complex fourth dimensional shape that is your body. And we're starting to untangle it and we're making it stronger, piece by piece, system by system. In stage 4, we're looking to promote blood circulation. We're using herbs and breath work and special self-care practices that increase the formation of new blood vessels, decrease platelet adhesion, encourage neurogenesis. Right? What does that mean? Neurogenesis, nerve generation, right? Did you know nerves can heal and repair themselves in some cases? Pretty cool, right? Because a lot of times chronic inflammation creates nerve damage, right? Like neuropathies, things like that. You can start to heal that. You want to start to regenerate that as best you can in this stage. Now it's time, right? Now it's time for this. Protect the central nervous system. That's your brain, your eyes, your spinal cord. Oftentimes by stage 4, that libido and sexual function is up. Again, we've got vasodilation happening. We're getting more blood circulation. That's like how Viagra works, right? It gets more blood circulation going. You can do that naturally with your own body. Promote macrophage activity at old injury sites. And this is where macrophages, as part of the immune system, part of their job is to take out pathogens, but another part of their job is to actually heal old injuries. And we encourage this at this point because it's time now. It's time to start cleaning up old damage. We know stage 4 is going well when you have a decrease in fixed sharp pains like old injury pains, oh, my bad ankle, my bad knee, that can actually start to decrease. The energy level should be like 90 to 100% at this point. Warm hands and feet, good circulation, mental clarity is better than before. Why? Because we're nourishing your brain with fresh blood. You have the desire to exercise now because the energy level's up. Brighter eyes, right? The eyes are attached to the brain. It's part of the brain that sticks out of the skull. When I show you photos of someone's eyes who's gone through this process, you can see it change because what's going on is their nervous system is getting healed. It's repairing itself. More inner peace, improved libido, future forward planning, old injuries waking up, and a reduced morning stiffness, right? So when you wake up out of bed and everything hurts, oftentimes when you get the blood circulation going better at stage 4, that'll help reduce that. There's also spiritual development in stage 4, and you feel like you have a future again. This is where people tend to start making plans. This is where people get a dog. They travel, they make commitments, they start a project, they start a business, they start taking on more clients, they start creating, painting more pictures, making sculptures, committing to things, planning people's parties, weddings, all this stuff. When you don't feel good, the world shrinks. We already covered that way back in the beginning. Do you remember that? That's the way beginning of the healing journey, that shrinking world, right? We're going to be re-expanding that. In order to do that, you got to start to feel like you have a future again. You start to feel confident and strong in your body so that you can make plans and be spontaneous and just go live life without worrying that your health's just going to erode, that you can't trust your body. You start to trust your body more. And because we've respected the complexity of your body system and we've unpacked it and we've gone through stage by stage, when you start to look at the aggregate effects of how everything's working together, you get this cumulative effect of feeling healthier, where people come back and say, I don't really identify as having a complex chronic illness anymore. I don't feel like a sick person. That's not me. And we'll talk more about that in just a little bit, because those are other distinct steps along this healing journey. We've spoken of triggers. There's all kinds of triggers: pathogens, mycotoxins, chemicals, weather changes, traveling, different types of foods, GMOs, stressors, EMFs, injuries like getting in a car accident or twisting your ankle, depletion, getting run down, doing too much, hormonal changes. There's more, right? But this is a pretty good list to start. When these triggers come in, this is why it can be confusing, because people say, okay, well, there's the immune system, digestive system, neuroadrenal, blood circulation. There's some other systems in the body, right? Great. How do I figure out what's going on with me? What are my triggers? What's going on with my systems? How do I unpack this, right? Well, one of the things that gets tricky is that immune system triggers like pathogens, mycotoxins, chemicals, weather changes, right? They will affect your immune system. But because your body's complex, right? Because we have this fourth dimensional complexity hypercube as a system of systems, just because the triggers affect one system, it doesn't mean they're going to stay there. Other systems will take the weight, right? So maybe you get affected by mycotoxins and it affects your immune system first, but where are the effects? Where are the symptoms? The symptoms come out in your neuroadrenals, where you're now feeling your heart just racing and thumping in your chest, and you're having anxiety and panic attacks when you're supposed to be asleep in the middle of the night, right? That's not an immune system response. That's a neuroadrenal response. But what's happening are the triggers are coming in, affecting your system, and that system is affecting a different system within the larger system. And you can see this with any of them. And this is why it can be so confusing, and why if you're not using the right tool, if you're using a telescope or a microscope to try to understand this stuff, you're not seeing the whole system. So you're not going to get the right kinds of responses. We have to understand the liquidity here. This is a complex system. So when we have EMFs coming into the body, they're going to be affecting the nervous system, right? But that may also kick off an inflammatory cascade that affects the immune system. When we eat foods that we shouldn't have eaten, right? That's going to affect the digestive system. We might have digestive symptoms, but we may also have immune symptoms. We may feel inflamed. We may feel swollen. There's all kinds of ways this can go. And you need to understand that we have the triggers, they're coming into your complex system, and they're coming out as symptoms. There's a ton of them. I just listed a few here. The symptoms can also be categorized, like fatigue, exhaustion, brain fog. Those tend to be stage 1 type symptoms, immune type symptoms. They come from the immune system being dysregulated. Now, how did the immune system get dysregulated? It's going to be different for different people. Like I said, these triggers can come in. It could be a stage 1 immune trigger that dysregulates your immune system, and now you've got stage 1 symptoms. Or it could be stage 3 trigger, like a stressor, or a stage 5 trigger, like depletion. You stayed up too late, and now your immune system's all messed up. You feel like you got a hangover the next day. So they can cross systems because your body's complex. It's a complex system of systems. I know I said systems a lot, right? But that's phase 3 of the healing journey, is starting to understand whole systems. It's so important. It's so important. So this is why it gets muddied. This is why it gets confusing. But if we have a whole systems approach where it doesn't matter, it does not matter where these triggers are affecting and where it's coming out, because we're going stage by stage through everything anyway, in the order that your body wants. It doesn't matter. We can actually operate independent of a diagnosis because we have such a strong, comprehensive process. This sets us free, so we're not stuck back in phase 1 of simplicity. I need a diagnosis or I can't heal, right? That's an outdated belief. We're updating that belief here in phase 3. And it's a whole different way of thinking, because we're working on systematic causes and making your body stronger and better at what it is already good at, like detoxifying or resting or digesting, tissue repair, all these things, right? We can go through this process with or without a diagnosis. So if you haven't figured out exactly what the problem is, it's okay. We can work with what we have and we can take action regardless. And this is one of the things I see people come through like our group and they're, oh, I just can't find what my diagnosis is. I've researched all kinds of different health conditions. I know I don't have chronic fatigue syndrome, but I can't figure out my diagnosis. Don't get stuck there. Set yourself free from phase 1 type of thinking and come on through the gates, right? But it requires the updated beliefs, and we can get to a process-based solution, meaning we go through these processes to strengthen the different parts of your body. That way we can just work with your natural systems. You get your systems operating better, they do what they're designed to do. So if you're not sure if it's Lyme or mold or a virus, right, and testing's kind of dodgy and you get false positives, false negatives anyway, it doesn't matter. We've removed that whole branch of thinking because we've acknowledged the complexity that's already there. And it doesn't really matter which pathogen it is if we help your immune system as a whole become more specific in its hunting capacity, because then it can find the pathogen you're looking for and the other ones. It's smart. Your body's smart. It knows what to do. It needs a little bit of help. It needs an organized plan to clear up the chaos, to organize the complexity. Something straightforward and structured, but when you give it the right inputs, you will get the right processes. You'll get the right outputs. So on our healing journey, the whole systems thinking step is defined by having a comprehensive adaptive plan that accounts for and leverages complexity rather than oversimplifying it, and feeling the confidence and the clarity that comes with this new understanding. Seriously, this will set you free. When I learned this stuff, it set me free as a clinician. I didn't always know these things. When I graduated from my training, and all, I was operating with complicated mindset. As a clinician, I hadn't passed phase 2 yet. I didn't understand that stuff. Right? I didn't understand what was behind the third gate. Now I do. I'm here to tell you the view from here is amazing. I don't know everything, right? I'm still learning and growing and figuring things out, but opening up my clinical thinking to phase 3 and understanding complexity has been such a game changer for the way I look at these problems and the ability to start to solve them in a whole different way. I hope to share some of that here. When we're looking at whole systems thinking, timing is everything. We don't want to be out of order. We want to start in an order that makes sense. Start with the immune system, go to digestive, neuroadrenal, blood circulation. There are some variations on that in rare cases, but for the most part, that's the universal combination to unlocking all these knotty inflammatory mystery illness conditions. Today's video is about healing complex chronic health conditions and the importance of timing, right? Timing. This is something that we tend to overlook in a lot of the mainstream approaches. So before we get into that, come over here with me. I want to show you something. I was walking on the street and I saw this beautiful fig tree, right? It's right here behind me. And one of the things I noticed that has to do with timing, and we will tie this back to if you're dealing with fibromyalgia or Lyme or mold exposure or chronic fatigue syndrome, long haulers, any of those, autoimmune condition, anything inflammatory, I will tie this back, I promise. But first, let me show you this tree, okay? Because if you look, a lot of these figs, they're not ripe. Can you see this? It's tiny. It's hard as a rock, right? It's not ripe. It's not ready. The timing's off, right? And if I were to look at this and say, oh, a fig tree, I want to try a fig, and I eat that, it's going to be disgusting. It's not going to be a good experience. And I'm going to walk away from that experience and I'm going to think, I don't like figs, right? They're not for me. However, check this out. I'm going to put you in the tree here. Look at this. Look at that, right? Big, squishy, it's coming apart already. That's a whole different deal, right? That one's ripe. The timing is right. So depending on how you understand timing, it'll change your whole experience. And what happens with complex chronic health conditions is we go looking for a solution. We go looking for a supplement or some kind of silver bullet or something like that. And we'll go on, we'll do research, right? We'll go on search engines or we'll go on forums is really common. Or you ask health professionals or you ask people in your life, you know, hey, what works for fatigue? What works for brain fog, right? What works for pain? And you're looking for all these suggestions. And what I'll offer you here is that a lot of times we take the suggestions, that is if they don't overwhelm us, you know, you get 1,000 different suggestions, even though they're well-intentioned, but we take those suggestions and we try the thing, right? And then it may not work as expected. It may not work very well at all. And what can happen, unfortunately, is we can get discouraged if you do too much of that. Try and fail, try and fail, try and fail. And then we start to think, oh, there's something really wrong with me, right? All these things that are supposed to work and that work for other people, it doesn't work for me. I'm going to dispel that right now because the most important thing to understand is timing. You can be doing the right things at the wrong time and you'll get a bad result, right? Just like these figs. They're the right thing, but at the wrong time, they're not going to be good. I'm not going to have that happy, positive experience, right? If I eat this little, where is it? Like these little woody ones, you know? that's not going to be good. It's not going to help. It's not going to work, right? You got to have something ripe and ready. And you also have to have your body ripe and ready in a receptive state. So how do you use this information? Well, if you are at all familiar with my work, you've heard me talking about 4 stages, sometimes 5, right? There's a secret 5th stage. But the main 4 you got to be aware of: immune system, digestive, neuroadrenal, and then blood circulation. That's how we take complex chronic health conditions and we start to get your life back. We start to get you back to a place of healthy physiology. And you have to go in order. So many times, people think that if you just try the right thing, that you're going to find the key that magically unlocks your body and unlocks your health condition, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that while your health may be locked up, it's not a key lock, it's a combination lock. You've got to have the right inputs in the right order at the right time in order to heal and get better. This is so important to understand. If you understand this, then you can start to make a plan. You don't get overwhelmed because you have a plan where you could organize your healing strategies and everything makes sense, right? You can move through stages. I teach all this. Having the order of operations and whole systems thinking really empowers the healing process, because we can have this other interesting phenomenon happen where symptoms start to go away on their own just because we're treating other body systems. And what I mean by that is somebody might be in stage 2 working on digestive system, yet they're having stage 3 symptoms like insomnia starting to improve. And it turns out that that's because their particular insomnia was caused by digestive system issues, like the food wasn't moving through smoothly, or having stagnant food causing inflammation that was keeping you up at night, or heartburn or something like that. So in this way, we can actually start to separate out triggers, systems, and symptoms. And this is where we get the really interesting stories where I've had people report back symptoms were improving, but they were symptoms they'd never even told me about. I wasn't treating their symptoms, I was treating their systems. Big, big difference. Whole systems thinking teaches us timing. It's the right lens for complex problem solving. This is where the silver bullets and the shotgun approach, they've already had their chance, right? They're incomplete. We know this. And now we have something else to flesh out our approach without blind spots. At this point in the healing journey, we have beliefs around whole systems. My body is a complex system, capable of healing itself if given the right interventions at the right time. Symptoms are a form of communication that arise from systemic causes. We don't need to mask our symptoms and mute them and put band-aids on it. We actually need to listen to them to figure out what's going on. What's your body asking for? In order to heal for real and not simply mask symptoms, I need to follow the straightforward plan that doesn't ignore the complex nature of reality, right? These are the beliefs at this point in the healing journey, and there's still more to come. We'll continue on with empowerment in part 4 of the Healing Journey series.